Welcome to my guide to the 2019 Key Stage 2 Reasoning Paper 2. What I suggest you do is download this paper, give yourself 40 minutes maximum to do the test, do as much as you can, and once you've finished, come back and watch this video, see if you got the marks, and also see where you may have gone wrong so you can work on it for next time. Okay, number 1. In this grid there are 4 multiplications. Write the 3 missing numbers. Basically, this question is just testing your knowledge of times tables. All we need to do is fill in the empty spaces. So looking for an easy one here, we have 4 times 3, you should know that is 12. 4 times 8, you should know that is 32. And finally, 3 times something is 21, the answer is 7. Just check that's correct here. 8 times 7 is 56. Yep, that's correct. Number 2, what number is 1,000 less than 9,072? You shouldn't need to do any working out for this question. You should look at the thousands column, which is this 9 here, and subtract 1 from it. So the answer is 8,072. Number 3, order the numbers starting with the largest. When we're comparing numbers, what we need to do is look at the first column, this column here on the left, and that is, in this case, millions. And in this case, they're all the same. 1 million, yep, all 1 million. So looking at the next one across, that would be our hundreds of thousands. We'd look to see which one's got the biggest. Well, it's going to be this one, 1.2. Everything else is just 1.0. So this one is the largest. Then we're going to move to the next column, and the next column is tens of thousands. And you can see that we have one here with a 2 in it, and the other 2 are zeros, so this one's going to be the second largest. And finally, the last 2 numbers we've got are broadly the same. They are 1 million, and then they have 9,000, nothing in between. But this one ends in 909, and this one ends in 99. Well, you know that 909 is obviously more than 99, so that means this one is the third largest, and this one is the smallest. Number 4, reflect the shape in the mirror line. Use a ruler. Now, obviously, I can't use a ruler because I'm doing this on the computer, so I'll just do my best, and you'll have to bear with me if it's a little bit messy. What I tend to do with these is look for corner points like this, and then match those first, and then fill in the dots, basically. So I'd be looking at this one here. That one's 1 away from this line here, so I'll do the same the other way. I'll put a dot there, just so I know. And now I'm looking at this point here. This one's 2 up from our original point, and it's 1, 2, 3 inwards. So we'll go up 2, 1, 2, and then it's 3 from this line. So 1, 2, 3, we'll put that dot in there. Okay, this one here is 2 away from here, so we should be able to put our other corner point there. And now we can fill in the other one. So this point is 2 further away than this one, so that will go there. And likewise this one is 3 further out from this point, which we've reflected here. So it'll be another 3, 1, 2, 3. Put my point in there, and then I just join up the lines. There you go. Told you it would be a little bit messy, but if you use a ruler, it would look pretty much spot on. Okay, number 5. The numbers in the sequence increase by 45 each time, so write the missing numbers. The easiest ones to start with would be these 2 here. We'll just keep adding 45. So 245 plus 45 is 290. Do the same again, add another 45, it would be 335. Now this one, obviously we can't add 45 onto something we don't know what it was previously, so we have to go to 155 and subtract 45. In this case, the answer would be 110. Number 6, write the missing number to make the division correct. Now this one is just testing your knowledge of multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1,000. It's basically place value. So looking at what we've got, we have 0.3 and we need to divide it by something to turn it to 0.03. And you should know that if you divide by 10 in this case, it would jump, the whole number would jump 1 space to the right, which would make it 0.03. So our answer is 10. 0.3 divided by 10 is 0.03. Number 7, Jack pours some dark paint into a container. In litres, how much paint is in the container? So looking at what we've got, we are basically 2 steps, 2 increments down from this number here, 3, so 3 litres. Now if we look at what we've got up here, 2 increments brings us to the halfway point, so that means that it must be in between 2 and 3, so it should be exactly 2.5 litres. Number 8, in the sequence, the rule is multiply by 2 and then add 3. So write the missing numbers. Now what I would recommend doing first is the ones that you can do without having to go backwards first. So let's have a look at that one. Then we have 53. We're going to multiply it by 2. So 53 times 2 would be 106. And then add 3. 106 add 3 is 109. Now to find this one here, we need to go backwards, and what that means is we need to look at what we've been given. Here's the rule, and we need to do the opposite and go from right to left. So instead of adding 3 at the end, we're going to subtract 3 now. So 25 take away 3 is 22. Okay, we've done that step, and now instead of multiplying by 2 first, we're going to divide by 2 last. So we had 22. And we're going to divide that by 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11. The best thing to do at this point to make sure you've got the answers right is to put the rule back in, put your number in and see does it actually follow the rule correctly. So look at the first number 11. Let's do the rule. Multiply it by 2, we get 22. And then we're going to add 3. 22 add 3 makes 25. So we know that that one is correct. Now similarly with number 9, we have a rule here. Jack has a number, he then multiplies it by 7, he then adds 85 and he arrives at his answer of 953. So in order for us to find Jack's original number, we're going to need to go backwards. So we're going to need to start with 953. That's what he landed on at the end. And we're going to go backwards. So the last thing he did was add 85, so let's subtract 85. Now I'm just going to do that in my head. If you need to do a written method, that's absolutely fine. The answer for this would be 868. And then we're going to carry on going back. So we've done this bit. He multiplied his number by 7. So we need to do the opposite. Divide our number by 7. So 868 divided by 7. We're going to do it this way. How many 7s go into 8? 1. Remainder 1. How many 7s go into 16? It would be 2, remainder 2. And how many 7s go into 28? The answer is 4. So his original number was 124. Now if you have time left at the end of the test, what I would recommend you do is come back to this sort of question, plug in your answer, so our answer was 124, and then do what Jack did. Multiply it by 7, then add 85, and see if you get 953. And you should do if we've done it correctly. So if you haven't arrived at that answer, it probably means that your answer to the original question is wrong. So come back to that at the end, spend a bit of time on that. Number 10, a theme park sells tickets online. Each ticket costs £24 and there's a £3 charge for buying tickets. Which of these shows how to calculate the total cost in pounds? So if every ticket costs £24, our formula would be the number of tickets that you purchase multiplied by 24. That gives you the total cost. But every time you buy some tickets, doesn't matter how many you buy, you have to pay this £3 charge. So it's this one here. Number of tickets multiplied by 24 plus 3. So that one is your correct answer. Okay, number 11. Amina is shopping. She says, I would like to buy 1/4 of a kilogram of cheese. Write 1/4 on the scales as a decimal. This is something that you should just know. You should know fractions as equivalents as decimals. Some common ones such as a half, you should know that that's 0.5. 3/4 you should know is 0.75. And also 1/4 is 0.25. So that would be our answer here, that 1/4 of a kilogram is 0.25 kilograms. And finally, the cheese costs £1.35. Amina pays with a £2 coin. How much change should she get? All you need to do there is £2 minus £1.35. You should be able to do that in your head, and the answer would be 65p. Number 12. Write one symbol in each box to make the statements correct. You should know that 7/10 is the same as 0.7. So if you're going to compare 0.7 and 0.07, well, we know that this tenths column is worth more than the hundredths column. So if you have 7/10, you have more than 0/10 and 7/100. So this one's bigger than this one. So the correct symbol to use is this one here. The big bit of the symbol, this bit of the like V shape here, that should be pointing towards the bigger number. So that's the correct answer for this one. And you should know that 0.23 is the same as 23 hundredths. Now, we know again that hundredths are bigger than thousandths. So if you have 23 hundredths, you're nearly at a quarter there. And this 23 thousandths is very, very small. So this one is going to be bigger. So the symbol we need is this one, because this is pointing towards the bigger number, this bit here. So that one is the correct answer for this one. Okay, number 13. Here's a sketch of a triangle. It's not drawn to scale. So can you draw the full size triangle accurately below? Now you need to use a protractor and a ruler. You would be given those in the test, so if you didn't use one for this question, you're not going to be able to get it right. It's very important that you know how to use a protractor correctly to get the angle correct. So this is the bit that they're interested in. It's this 35 degrees and the 90 degrees here, and the rest should therefore make sense if you can put it in correctly. Now obviously I can't do that because I'm on the computer, so all I would recommend you do there is use the 8 centimeters that they've given you here. Use your protractor, make sure that you get this angle, the 35 degrees, absolutely spot on. You should be able to do that at this stage. Once you've done that, you can then start to draw a line off it. Now, again, you need to make sure that this bit is also 100% accurate. You need a perfect 90-degree angle, otherwise the triangle won't look correct. Number 14, complete the table. Round 39,476 to the nearest 10,000. In this case, we need to look at the 10,000s and the thousands, and you should see that the nearest 10,000, because this number is 9, will be 40,000. Similarly, to the nearest 1,000, we look at the thousands column and we look at the hundreds column. If this is 5 or more, we push it up to 40,000. But because it's less than 5, we're going to drop this down to 39,000. That's your answer for this one. And finally, we're going to look at the nearest 100. So we need to look at our hundreds column here, which is 400. And we need to look at our tens column. If this is 5 or more, we need to increase it, and it is. It's 7. So our answer would be 39,500. Number 15. Amina asked 60 children to choose their favourite flavour of jelly. These were her results. What percentage of the 60 children chose orange? Okay, so we have a total of 60 children, and we know that 15 of those chose orange. So what we need to do is try and work this out as a percentage. So it would be 15 children out of the total, which is 60, and we need to convert this fraction to a percentage. What I would recommend you do first is to cancel it down so that we can find something with a denominator that we can multiply to reach 100. And if we can reach 100, then we should be able to convert it to a percentage really easily. Let me show you what I mean. So first thing I'm going to do is to cancel this down, I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 3. If I do that, 15 divided by 3 will be 5. 60 divided by 3 is 20. Now at this point we can turn this into hundredths. We can multiply the top and the bottom by 5. If we do that, we will end up with 100 at the bottom, which means it's going to be easier to convert to a percentage. So let's do that. We're going to multiply by 5. 5 times 5 is 25, and 20 times 5 is 100. Now this is really straightforward. This is just 25 out of 100, which is 25%. You could have cancelled it down a different way. You could have divided it by 15. You could have done 15 divided by 15 is 1. 60 divided by 15 is 4. So that's 1 quarter, which is the same as 25 hundredths. You should know that 1 quarter is the same as 25%. Number 16, write the missing number. This is a perfect example of a BODMAS question. If you don't know how to do BODMAS, you need to have a look at the video that I've done on my channel for BODMAS questions. It's really important that you know how to do that. I won't go through the steps here, so let's just go through the answer. The first thing you need to do is the multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. 6 plus 4 is going to be 10. So 10 minus something equals 6. Well, 10 minus 4 equals 6, so our answer in the box should be 4. Okay, number 17. These two shapes have the same perimeter. We have a hexagon here on the left, and we have a square. The length of each side of the hexagon is 8 centimeters. Calculate the area of the square. Now, this is a multi-step question. We need to really work down to what the question is asking us to find. It wants us to find the area, but at the moment we haven't got a clue what the area of either of these two things are. The only information that we've been given is that our hexagon, each side is 8 centimetres, and the square and the hexagon have the same perimeter. So using the information we've got, we know that hexagon is 8 centimetres each side, so if I was to write 8 on each one, then we should be able to work out the perimeter. Now it wants us to find the area, so we'll come back to that in a second. Let's just have a look at the perimeter of this hexagon. To find the perimeter, we just add up all the sides. So it would be 8, add 8, add 8, add 8, add 8, add 8, or 6 times 8, which is 48. Now that's the perimeter. 48 centimetres is the perimeter of this hexagon. Now it's also said that the two shapes have the same perimeter, so we know then that the square also equals 48 centimetres for the perimeter. So how are we going to find each side of the square? Something that makes a square special is that every single side is the same length. So what we could do is divide 48 by the number of sides, which is 4, to give us each length. So 48 divided by 4, you should know, is 12. So each side is 12. If you were to add these up, you would also get 48 centimetres. Now finally, it says calculate the area of the square. We know the perimeter, and as a result, we've worked out the sides. We've worked out that each side is 12. To find the area of the square, we do base times height. Now the base is 12, and of course, because it's a square, the height is also 12. So we can do 12 times 12, which equals 144. So our area is 144 centimetres squared. Quite a complicated question, but if you use the information they've given you and try and extrapolate as much data as you can from the question, then it's fairly straightforward once you've done it. Number 18, circle the prime number. Now the clue for this one is 95 is clearly not a prime number because it ends in a 5, which means it's in the 5 times table, therefore it's not prime. Remember, a prime number can only be divided by itself and 1. So if it's in the 5 times table, you can divide it by 5, so that isn't 1. Similarly, 87, if you know your 3 times table, you should know that 60 would be in the 3 times table. And if we took 60 from here, we'd end up with 27, and you also know 27 is in your 3 times table. So if you add those together, therefore it would fit in the 3 times table. So that one isn't right either. The only one that's prime then is 89. If you want to check that, you need to use your knowledge of times tables. Think, is it in the 3 times table? Is it in the 2 times table? And keep doing that until you can find that it pretty much doesn't cover any of those, because remember, it only has to be divisible by itself and 1. Explain how you know the other numbers are not prime. Well, we know that 95 divided by 5 equals 19. Then I would put not prime. And 87 divided by 3 equals 29, I believe. So that is also not prime. Number 19, a machine pours 250 millilitres of juice every 4 seconds. How many litres of juice does the machine pour every minute? So if we know that every 4 seconds we get 250 millilitres of juice, then we want to find out how much we get in a minute. So what we need to do is say, well, how many 4 seconds are there in 60 seconds, which is a minute? So what you need to do is 60 divided by 4, which is 15. Okay, and then we need to multiply 250 millilitres by 15. So 250 multiplied by 15. 5 times nothing is nothing. 5 times 5 is 25. Put the 5, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 2 is 12. We put our placeholder. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. And we add them together. Nothing, 5, 7, 3. So that's how many millilitres we get in a minute. But it wants our answers in litres. So what we need to do is divide 3,750 by 1,000. So our answer would be 3.75 litres. Number 20, take the fractions that are equal to 20%. And it says fractions and there are 2 marks, so I'm guessing there will be 2 answers for this one. You should just know off the top of your head that 1/5 is the same as 20%, so that one is the obvious one. Now we need to look for an equivalent fraction to 1/5. So what I mean by that is we can multiply the top or the bottom by a number to arrive at a similar fraction. And in this case, the one that you can multiply to get the same at the top and the bottom is this one here, 3/15. If you multiply the top by 3, you get 3. If you multiply the bottom by 3, you get 15. So this is equivalent to 1/5. So this one is also correct. Okay, number 21. Adam has this rectangular piece of card. It's marked with grid lines. Adam makes 2 straight cuts along the grid lines. The 2 cuts divide the rectangle into 3 shapes. We'd have 2 squares of different size and 1 rectangle. Use the grid lines and draw 2 lines that show where Adam could have made his cuts. Use a ruler. Now obviously again I'm not going to be able to use a ruler because I'm on the computer, so I'll do my best. Now if you imagine, if you had a pair of scissors, where would you cut so that you could get, with 2 cuts, these 3 shapes? 2 different size squares and a rectangle. Try and visualize that in your head. And in this case I'm going to put a line down here. Imagine that's done dead straight with a ruler. And I'm going to put a line here. So I have 2 different squares. I have a 2x2 and a 5x5, and I also have a rectangle, that one there. Number 22, this graph shows the maximum temperature for 5 days. For what fraction of the 5 days was the maximum temperature below 10? So we have 5 days given. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we have 2 days. 2 of those 5 days are where the max temperature was below 10. These ones were above 10. So that means as a fraction we're going to have 2 out of a total of 5, which means we would have 2/5. And finally, what was the mean maximum temperature to 1 decimal place? So what we need to do is add up our maximum temperatures and divide them by how many days we have. So we have 5. So we need to add these all up first and then divide our total by 5. Okay, I just made a note of the temperatures here because you can't see that on the screen. So if we're going to find the mean, like I mentioned, we need to add all of these up and then divide them by how many there are, which is 5. So let's have a go at working that out then. 8.1 plus 9.3 would be 17.4. Get rid of those now. 17.4 add 11.9 would be 29.3. Don't worry if you can't do this in your head. Do a written method if you can't. 29.3 add 11.8 would be 41.1. And finally 41.1 plus 12.4 is 53.5. Okay, in order to find the mean then, we've got our total, which was 53.5, and we're going to divide that by how many there were, which was 5. So in order to do that, we can do it this way. 53.5 divided by 5. How many 5's going to 5 is 1. How many 5's going to 3 is 0. Carry the 3 over. So it would be 5 into 35, which is 7. The answer would be therefore 10.7. Number 23. Amina made this cuboid using centimetre cubes. We have a height of 4, we have a width of 6, and we have a length of 3. Stefan makes a cuboid that is 5 centimetres longer, 5 centimetres taller, and 5 centimetres wider than Amina's cuboid. So what's the difference between the number of cubes in Amina's and Stefan's cuboids? This question is testing your knowledge of volume. So what the volume is of a cuboid, in this case, would be the height multiplied by the width multiplied by the length. So let's make a note of the volume of Amina's cuboid. I'm just going to put A. A's cuboid equals 4 times 6, which is 24. 24 times 3 is 72. So hers is 72 centimetres cubed. That's what we need to remember for volume. Now Stefan's is going to be a bit bigger. So Stefan's is the same numbers but with 5 added each time. So that would mean Stefan's height would be 9, the width would be 6 plus 5, which is 11, and the length would be 3 plus 5, which is 8. So that is the length, the height, and the width of Stefan's cuboid. If we want to work out Stefan's volume, then we need to multiply these all together. So we need 9 times 11, which is 99. 99 times 8, let's do a bit of working out. You can write wherever you want to in the test, as long as you don't write in the answer box. You can do some working out up here, that's fine. 8 times 9 is 72. Put the 2, carry the 7. 8 times 9 again is 72. Plus the 7 is 79. So our answer here would be 792 centimeters cubed. Okay, so we have Amina's cuboid, which is made up of 72 cubes, and we have Stefan's cuboid, which is made of considerably more, 792 cubes. So if we're going to find the difference, we need to subtract 792 and 72 from that. 2 minus 2 is 0, 9 minus 7 is 2, and 7 minus nothing is 7. So our answer is 720 cubes. That's the difference between Stefan's and Amina's cuboid. I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. That really helps me out and I really appreciate that. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment box below and I'll do my best to get back to you. And if there are any areas that you think that you need some work on, have a look at my channel. I've got plenty of tutorial videos on there, so hopefully you could have a look at those and improve. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.